YouTube, welcome back to another episode of Higurashi. Last time, Natsumi went crazy, probably killed her whole family, and she ran away after catching Chisato. Kind of rat on her. Not for killing her family, which would be a proper rat, but like saying like, hey, Natsumi might be trying to sacrifice you to Oyashiro-sama, which was kind of fucked up in its own right. Uh, she ran away. She's losing control. Bumped into Tomoe. That's our only hope, man. Can Tomoe save Natsumi? We'll see. Really, it was just a coincidence. After finishing a meeting at Prefectural Police HQ and feeling drowsy from staying up all night, she was looking to get a quick change of pace by stopping at a nearby park before heading back to her apartment. There, Tomoe suddenly spotted a girl dressed in a school uniform collapsed on the walking trail, and she rushed over to her. And when she realized the girl was Natsumi, her face turned pale and she sat her up. She does not look happy. Huge beads of sweat were all over her face, and her bands were sticking to her forehead. Her uniform was muddy, and there were countless scrapes and abrasions on her knees and elbows, like she had stumbled multiple times. Even though Tomoe called out to her many times and vigorously shook her body, Natsumi's eyes were hollow and unfocused. But it seemed like she muttered something in that faint moan. Natsumi was still gasping in pain, but she managed to faintly hold Tomoe's hand. After feeling that, Tomoe moved her ear right next to the girl's mouth, trying to hear what she was saying. When she heard that, she recalled the medicine capsules Natsumi was taking when they met at Angel Mort the other day. Thinking that, Tomoe searched inside Natsumi's bag and in the pockets of her skirt to locate it, but she couldn't find it. And while wondering where on earth it could be, she gazed at the base of the nearby bench and suddenly noticed a familiar-looking pill case on the ground beside it. Tomoe quickly carried Natsumi to the bench and laid her down, then picked the case up. She bought a can of oolong tea from a nearby vending machine and emptied the entire contents into a flower bed, then filled the can with the water from a nearby drinking fountain, and rushed to bring it back to Natsumi. Natsumi stretched her trembling hand out toward the pill case while breathing harshly. Taking that as confirmation, Tomoe nodded back to her and tore 2 pills out of the packaging. Natsumi could vaguely make out the palm of her hand in front of her, and there were 2 small, familiar-looking objects brightly shining at her. the medicine she had been searching for so long. If she takes it, this awful pain and suffering can be so much easier on her. Her worries, irritation, anger, and hatred, all of it will disappear. She just needed to clear these burning hot thoughts and feelings out of her head and fall asleep. And then...
そうよ。あのカプセルを飲めば、今度こそ私は私に変わる。だからあなたは安心してゆっくりお休みなさい。あとは私があなたの代わりにやってあげるから。あなたのしたいこと、望んだことを形にして邪魔なものは全て消してあげる。ありとあらゆる気に入らないもの全てをぶっ壊してあげるから。
That moment, Natsumi suddenly opened her eyes and forcefully shook off Tomoe's outstretched hand. And with that, the capsules in her palm went flying and fell to the ground.
何よ。夏美さん、よく聞こえない。もう一度ゆっくり。消える。私って自分がどういうこと？
For a moment, Tomoe was completely shocked by Natsumi's cryptic and unusual choice of words. But she quickly came back to her senses and realized the situation was dangerous, so she turned toward a nearby payphone.
ちょっと待っていて。すぐに救急車を呼んでくるわ。大丈夫。少しの辛抱だから。目を閉じて気分を楽にしてね。
Tomoe gently squeezed Natsumi's hand as she said that, then turned and ran toward the phone booth. Her bat got smaller and smaller as she moved farther away. Though it was rapidly getting cooler, the warmth still lingered on the palm of her hand. No. Don't go, Tomoe-san. I'm at my limit. I can't take anymore. The back of my throat was constantly dry, sore, irritating, painful, and itchy. It felt absolutely awful. For a while now, all the blood in my body felt like it was bubbling, like a whole bunch of white insects were running wild inside. Oh no. It's never a good thing. That's not it. No, they're not buds, they're maggots. Oh, yeah, well, same thing. Grandma told me about this. They're Oyasho-sama's demon larvae. And they're eating my blood, my flesh and bones, trying to break through the skin and come out. Right, I have to get rid of them. I have to kill them, or they'll kill me. I have to kill them. I have to kill them. Bro, Natsumi can't die. This is supposed to be the good arc. It's gonna be a kind of a sad good arc if everyone's alive and Natsumi's just dead, huh? So itchy. The inside of my throat is itchy, 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 itchy. And no matter how hard I scratch it, no matter how much blood oozes out, that shit won't stop, won't stop, won't stop. I have to kill the demon inside me, right away. Or I'll be devoured, I'll be killed. Just a few steps before reaching the phone booth, Tomoe suddenly looked back when she heard a strange voice and was frightened by the sight. Natsumi was writhing on the ground while crying out in a deranged voice. She was holding her throat in both hands like a fit of convulsions, and she looked like she was in agony, as if... That moment, a sense of deja vu awakened an image in the back of Tomoe's mind. Both of her hands were moving up and down, over and over and over again, stabbing her nails into her neck as they trembled. No doubt about it, she was scratching at her throat. Tomoe turned and ran toward Natsumi in a panic. Then her nails pierced the skin of her throat, revealing dark red flesh beneath and staining her neck in a bright red blood all the way down to her uniform. Save her! Tomoe did her best to grab Natsumi's hands and keep her from scratching at her throat. In exchange, Natsumi's nails gouged the skin on the back of her hand hard enough to spout blood, and severe pain ran through her like she was being torn apart. Why? Why are you getting in the way, Tomoe-san? It's so itchy. It's so painful. It's awful. I have to kill it quickly. If I don't kill the demon inside me, it'll kill me. Are you gonna abandon me to death, Tomoe-san? Or maybe, Tomoe-san, do you think it would be better for me to die? You think it would be best to let the demon kill me? And that's why you're getting in my way? Even now, you're reaching for my throat trying to strangle me to death? In that case, I've decided. You are my enemy. Enemy, enemy. Enemy, 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 enemy. Natsumi suddenly leapt at Tomoe, and the two collapsed on the ground entangled. Then she straddled Tomoe from above like riding a horse without giving her any time to react. She wrapped Tomoe's neck with both her hands and screws with enough force to dig her nails in. Her blonde hair became disheveled, and her eyes opened wide with a wicked light within as Natsumi focused even harder on strangling Tomoe with her own hands. Tomoe desperately tried to pull them away, but they were so tight they were practically biting her, so she couldn't create an opening. Mottled dark spots began blotting her field of view, likely due to the blood congestion. Tomoe continued resisting and reached a hand into the inside of her pocket of her jacket, then pulled out the extendable baton she was carrying. And then, while she was using her other hand to push up against the pit of Natsumi's stomach with as much strength as she could muster. Natsumi's breathing stopped and her grip loosened at that moment, Tomoe seized the opportunity and jabbed her elbow into Natsumi's side to knock her body away. And the moment she escaped from her confinement, Tomoe rushed to secure Natsumi, who had fallen to the ground, but her legs were weak from the lack of oxygen, so she fell to her knees. Meanwhile, Natsumi slowly and unsteadily rose back up, with an eerie smile on her now soiled face. Tomoe couldn't hold back the chill running through her heart as she looked up at that. Zashiki Warashi, no, that was her bullied name. She remembered the awful nickname Natsumi had been given in her old town. Indeed, in her current state she looked like a ghost, but definitely not a Zakishi Warashi. Those have bob cuts, man, and they're friendly. At the very least, this wasn't the kind-hearted, docile girl she knew. No, she didn't even look human anymore. Tomoe reflexively shook the baton in her hand, extending it to the length of a short sword. No matter how rusty she may be at the moment, she had reached stage 3 in kendo. Even in this condition, she wasn't about to lose to a young girl. Plus, even if Natsumi turned and tried to flee, the baton had enough reach to stop her in a moment. But could she really do that? This was a girl she deeply cared about, who regarded her as her sister. Beating her down like a common thug was just too... I see. Come to think of it, this lady is a detective, and an exceptionally talented one at that. Since she's a detective, she may have already noticed this medicine. No, I'm sure she noticed, and this lady might even be able to see through my true identity. Then before that can happen, a moment of hesitation resulted in a delayed reaction. The girl's delicate body slammed into her with unimaginable violent force, and since Tomoe wasn't expecting the hit, she couldn't defend herself, so she collapsed to the ground. The shock of her bat striking the ground made her stop breathing, and at that moment, Tomoe looked up at Natsumi's terrible visage and began to tremble. The assailant had moved beyond hostility and toward intent to kill. There's a unique expression that one makes when attempting to take the life of another, with a jet-black darkness lurking in the back of their eyes, and it was on full display in Natsumi's face. And without any hesitation, she once again tightened both her hands around Tomoe's neck. Yes, Natsumi, kill this detective. As long as this detective is around, you'll never be happy. She'll expose all your secrets and the heinous things you've done, then throw you in prison. So kill her before that can happen. There's no other way. You can't go back and start over. You have to destroy everything. She couldn't breathe. Her conscience was fading. If things stay like this, she had to do something, or she'd die. But it seemed that words would no longer get through to her. Tomoe raised an extendable baton in her right hand while quietly apologizing. But that moment... Ever so faintly, from the gap between Natsumi's clenched fang-like teeth, Tomoe could hear something resembling a voice. Help me? What did that mean? Tomoe is about to be killed, so shouldn't she be the one asking for help? So what did she mean by asking for help? So confused by her meaning, Tomoe neglected to pull Natsumi's hand away from her neck as she desperately tried to reason out her intentions. And then...
Nani? 私、一人っ子だったから。 ずっと巴さんみたいなお姉さんがいたらいいなって思っていました。優しくて頼りがいがあって何でも相談できて。だから巴さんさえ良ければなんですけど、これから私巴さんのことお姉さんって思ってもごめんなさい、変なこと言って。でも私ごめん。
Her voice squeezed out like she was vomiting blood, and at the same time, huge teardrops came falling from Natsumi's eyes. There was blood mixed in, making both of her eyes look bright red, and forming a number of red lines down her pale cheeks. Right. She's such a kind, obedient, good girl. She told me I was like a sister, a pitiful girl who wanted to be loved. In that case, what would happen if I didn't believe in her? If I don't keep protecting her, if I don't keep watching over her until the very end, then who else can save her?
大丈夫よ、夏美さん。私は信じる。あなたを信じている。
As she said that, Tomoe released her grip on Natsumi's hands and gently touched the girl's cheeks. No longer putting up resistance, the pressure on her neck immediately increased, and her consciousness was rapidly fading. Her field of view was getting darker and darker. Nevertheless, Tomoe wouldn't break her smile. Accepting the wounds in the girl's heart, she turned her weak breath into words and spoke with a smile on her face.
あなたは優しい子。世界中の誰が何て言っても、私はいつでもどんな時でもあなたの味方。そう約束したでしょ。こんなにも頑張って、こんなにもいろいろ悩んで、それでも頑張ってきたあなたの努力、私は知っている。だから早く帰ってきなさい。
Will it work though? I mean, it can work. We know the power of words do work on high-level Hinamizawa syndrome people, so have some willpower, Natsumi.
私の知ってる夏美。夏美はそんな弱い子じゃない。そうよ、私の妹がこんなことするわけがない。だから早く
Oh, transformation. That moment. A vague memory emerged in the back of my mind and I saw a scene play out. Oh my god, it's flashback buff. Let's go. I was in a park just like this. Even the benches and trees looked identical. And standing in front of me was a lone woman. She was dressed in a suit and had short hair, with a brilliant glow in the back of her eyes. It was her.
あなたはそれでいいの？何も信じなくて全てを疑って、それで本当にいいの？
Actual flashback buff? You know, Natsumi's not dying, or Tomoe today, boys. We love to see it.
いいも何もないですよ。これがただ一つの一番正しい方法。そうでしょ？本当に？私にはそう見えない。だってあなたは本当はそう思ってないでしょ？ただそう思おうとしているだけじゃない。
あなたは自分の作ったありもしない悪人だけの世界が全てだと勝手に思い込んでる。
随分決めつけるんですね。あなたに私の何がわかるんですか？
わかるわよ。さっきも言ったでしょ、私もあなたと同じだったから。
I'm guessing this is a flashback buff. It's been too long that I don't remember this scene exactly. Her words were intense and strict. Her voice was hot and full of passion, and the look on her face made my frozen heart audibly crack. Why? Why is this woman so desperately fighting for my sake if the soundtrack's going crazy right now? We're not blood relatives. We're not even close. We're total strangers. And on top of that, right now she should be my enemy. She should be the person least willing to forgive me. And yet, why? I don't understand. I can't begin to understand why she's doing this. But
私もね、あなたと同じように絶望して何もかも信じられなくなったことがある。たった一人で悩んで苦しんで、どうして私だけがこんな目にって世の中全てを恨んだりもしたわ。
true. Literally.
でも
Dude, I can't wait to find out what's the mystery behind Tomoe's dad's murder. They've been teasing it, man. I'm ready.
何も信じられないのって
It was
本当に
Tokyo.
辛い
I
こと
mean,
なの。
that's the obvious answer, but still, it's exciting.
疑えば疑うほど周りの人は私のことを信じてくれなくてどんどん離れていく。みんなだからずっと自分が一人ぼっちで寂しくて怖くて
Sorry,
悲
I
し
was
くて。
taking some pills.
夏美さん、あなたは耐えられるの？私には耐えられなかった。だけどね、私を裏切るやつもいるけど、それ以上に大切に思ってくれる人も絶対にいる。
Oishi.
自分が最後まで諦めなければ。
True.
今でも
Actress
自
who
分の
cares
親しい
about
人たちに裏切
Natsumi.
られるかもって
I'm
思って。
sure
不安になって怖くなることもある。
Chisato does too, but she kind of snaked out.
だけど
Same
世
with
界が
Tamato.
冷たいばかりじゃない。
They're on their snake arcs.
それに相手の優しさには打算とか悪意もあるかもしれないけど、その気持ちそのものの温かさはきっと本物なのよ。
Most of the
綺
time.
麗事ですね。虫図が走りますよ。
Own.
そんなの。
いいじゃない、綺麗事だって。いつか死ぬ直前になって自分の記憶の中を真っ黒に塗りつぶしたくなるような思いをするくらいなら、ずっとそっちの方がマシよ。
Yes, just like back then. Back then, this woman reprimanded me and encouraged me, oh, so many times. She tried to drag me out of the darkness with her heartfelt kindness, telling me not to give up to despair. That's why, back when Chisato-chan tried to persuade me, I was able to stop myself. Even though I felt helpless and I was lost in despair that ruined everything, I was able to find a light, a little light. No, that's not all. It wasn't just that. I murdered my whole family and nearly killed Chisato-chan after that nightmarish tragedy. After being arrested, I spent days, weeks, months locked in a small room at a detention facility to repay my sins. I was locked like a doll, not even aware if I was dead or alive. My tears had completely withered away after the first few days. I had nothing left in me. When I opened my eyes, I could see the dirty white walls and a small view of the sky obstructed by a grid of bars. I dejectedly leaned my back against the wall, just staring at the clouds as they flew past with a vacant look in my eyes, and asking God over and over again if this world was just a dream. My body seemed to be crushed by the weight of my regrets. I was nearly suffocated from the magnitude of my grief. For me, life was no longer worth living. It would be better for everyone if I died already. I thought nothing but that. I was later taken to court, surrounded by esteemed people, and spent the whole time reflecting on the weight of my sins. The prosecutor and defense attorney were having a complicated discussion. At your turn, Chisato-chan and Tamato-chan were crying and shouting desperately trying to stick up for me. It's kind of cool getting a look in what happened post third arc, or second arc, before the time skip where they got married.
あんたが悪い子じゃないことは私たちが一番よく知ってる。
I mean, she did kill her whole family. That was pretty bad, but you know.
だから夏美、絶対
I'm
諦めるんじゃない
joking.
よ。
Well, I'm not joking, but I believe it. I mean, she did reform by the end, right? She seemed fine, and she married Akira. It was all Gucci.
ありがとう。
However, while I deeply appreciated Chisato-chan's encouragement, that doesn't change the fact that I'm a murderer. There's no mistaking that. I was glad to receive everyone's kindness. Really, I was delighted. But I didn't have anything left to repay them with other than my life. I gave up everything and had no hope for anything. I've ruined the future of so many people, so I have no right, no qualifications to seek a future of my own. So at the very least, I don't want to cause anyone any further pain, so just let me die. Erase me from this world, and if possible, erase me from everyone's memories too, without leaving any trace. That alone was my one request to God, the one thing I was thinking about. However, when a familiar-looking detective submitted an analysis results from the medicine I was taking as evidence during the trial, the situation started to change.
被告の服用していた薬は精神や人格形成に多大な悪影響をもたらすものです。その効用を知らされずに服用を続けていた被告、いや、少女もまた被害者の一人なのです。
In law terms, we call this not guilty by mental defect. She was mentally unfit to commit the crime because of the drug. I've been watching a lot of Law and Order. I know this stuff. Prosecutor Stone, baby. Best in the game. They conducted various forms of scientific analysis, and the content of their findings was deemed very credible. Based on that, Chisato asked her father to help, so he submitted the testimony of many authoritative doctors. And as a result,
被告人、君吉夏美を無罪とする。
it's very rare, you know, in Japanese culture. Maybe not back then when this game's taking place, but it's kind of like common knowledge that once a criminal is convicted, they actually have a 99% guilty rate, so that's me hitting that top 1%. You love to see it. After hearing that declaration from the presiding judge, I fell silent, like I was lost in another world, and froze. After that, I heard cheering from the public gallery, and everyone was offering me their support. It was unbelievable, like a dream come true. But aside from all these other people being happy for me, I had nothing to be happy about. I was unfit to be forgiven. It doesn't matter what caused it, because I'm a murderer. There's no mistaking that. With that thought, I blamed, tormented, and mangled my heart. Even so, I went to greet and thank the detective who stood on the defense on my behalf, and then... I heard something unbelievable. The documents that the detective presented were arranged on orders from Manai-san. Dude, I thought the detective was Manai. Nope. I guess she's not a detective at this point. Oh, is she just talking about Fujita? She didn't know the connection?
多分生きておられたら
Oh, she's dead in this art.
心から喜んでいたと思います。
I totally forgot. Yeah, this is the second arc where she died trying to stop that person in the garage. Oh, that's crazy. That adds a whole layer to this, huh? Let her live. It was then that I learned Minai's son was killed by a burglar on active duty. She didn't even know that. Oh, man. Though I think... I thought Minai visits her during the wedding. It must have been someone else then. Probably Chisato, I guess, or something. And it happened when she was on the way to hear the analysis results of my medication. Wait, when is this? Oh yeah, wait, no, yeah. She was on her way and then she stopped by the garage. Yeah.
助けてあげたいんです、彼女のこと。昔の私とどこか似てるなって。立場と状況が違えば私もああなっていたかもしれませんし、だから。
She told the other detectives about all the things she was doing for me, and this detective relayed that to me. She was doing so much for me, desperately working for my sake. And true to her word, she was willing to give her life for me. For me.
あなたのその命はあの人が最後まで守ろうとしてくれた命なんです。だから大切にしてください。それがあの人の供養になると思います。お願いします。
Minai-san, who taught me something precious. Minai-san, who rescued me from despair. I could never again hear her harsh but kind voice. Her strong, serious look would never again reach me. She was already gone. And I'd never be able to thank her. Never be able to tell her I was sorry. Never. Even though I thought my tears had dried up, and there was no sadness left in me, I broke down sobbing on the spot. I couldn't stop the overflowing tears, and continued weeping for a while. What the? That's right. Hey, it's my opening song. Dude, whenever I hear this song, I love this song, by the way. I just think of my opening. Back then, I swear an oath. Maybe this is all a story from a dream. These may be unrelated events that happened in a completely different world. But there, someone fought to save my life, so I'll definitely cherish that effort even in this world. And I'll care just as much about the lives of others, no, maybe even more so. Yes, I've decided. I've learned from the people I love. I have. Don't kill. Don't let yourself kill. Don't die. Don't let yourself die. I'll go on living for the sake of people dear to me. And so I'll never hurt anyone and never again lose someone dear to me. So... Holy... Multi-dimensional Natsumi is on the scene. Crazy Natsumi has nothing on her. I cried that out, desperately gathering the disappearing fragments of myself, while turning toward the black shadow that was trying to destroy me just a moment ago, and voicing my wish. I will not disappear. I can't disappear, and I refuse to hand this mind and body over to anyone. Possible thumbnail.
そんな真似お前にお前なんかがそんなふざけた真似ができ渡さないあなたに君吉夏美は渡さない
Bro, this is like, it's like the Satoto battle, but if Satoto wins in a Sotsu, it's kind of cool.
私は私だ
Satoto should have took notes from Natsumi, man.
お姉ちゃんを傷つけるような何もかもが認められない憎んで恨んで呪うことしかできないあなたなんかが私であるはずがないあなたは絶対に私じゃなぜ私はお前だ
Bro, isn't this crazy? We've seen people being stabilized, like the syndrome being stabilized, but have you ever seen it getting the shit beaten out of it by the soul? The soul of the person. She exploded? Suddenly, Natsume released her hands from Tomoe's throat, then recoiled back and vigorously rose up, arcing her back backwards while letting out a blood-curdling roar. And then... she collapsed on the spot like a puppet, with its strings cut, and Tomoe barely stirred her body enough to catch her. Sweat was gushing from her body, and her clothes were drenched. A feeble breath was barely emanating from her little mouth.
夏美さんしっかりして夏美さん夏美
Save her.
本当にご無事で何よりです。
Fujita let out a sigh of relief as he said that. Just how many times had he sighed today? He knew he was being insistent, but he couldn't help but say it.
大丈夫ですか、ミナイさん。
ええ、とりあえず出血は止まったから。もっとも頸動脈をやられていたらさすがにやばかったかもしれないけどね。
笑えませんよ。
Yeah, he almost died, bruh. He dejectedly spit the words out. Really, Fujita and Hanada seemed to be feeling just as frightened as their words sounded. It was fortunate that they were able to arrive at the park after receiving an emergency call from a payphone telling them to come alone. But when they arrived, they found Tomoe covered in blood and an unconscious girl in her arms. At first, they thought the two of them were both dead, but a few seconds later, Tomoe raised her head and began shouting and making a fuss.
一体どうしたんです？何があったんですか？
私が聞きたいわ。全くわけがわからないっていうか、理解不能の事態よ。
Tomoe shook her head while placing a hand on her throat. Her neck and both of her hands were painfully wrapped in bandages. When she stopped by the park, she suddenly noticed a girl she knew was collapsed on the ground and in pain, so she rushed over to her only to be immediately attacked. That was the simplest way of explaining it, but it sounded like something out of a bad horror movie. And what's more, it happened in the middle of the day, so it was hard to write it off as the work of ghosts or monsters. It was just a peculiar reality.
幽霊か。
As for the police investigations were concerned, there are no paranormal factors or at all explanations for incidents. At least Tomoe thought so. Yeah, it's not exactly an approved answer for crime solving for the police. But that's exactly why no matter how bizarre and incomprehensible the content of an incident may be, it needs proper analysis to elucidate the truth. It felt like she was giving herself a headache as she thought that.
ま、人目につかなかったのは本当に不幸中の幸いだったわ。もし誰かに見られていたら大騒ぎになっていたでしょうし。
それなんですが、ミナイさん、本当に起訴しないつもりなんですか？
Hell no. I mean, she could. She has all the rights to, but she's not that. Come on, it's Natsumi.
当然でしょ。そんなことしたらこの子の将来間違いなく台無しになっちゃうじゃない。
Let her chill, man. She just beat her inner demons. Literally.
いや、でも
With
この
her
子があなたを
fists.
襲ったのは事実なんですよ。本来なら公務執行妨害に加えて傷害、下手すりゃ殺人未遂で火災でも実刑出ておかしくない罪状です。
そうね。
Yeah, and Tomoe obviously doesn't want that to happen, Fujita. You don't need to explain it. Tomoe had a bitter smile on her face as she gazed at the face of Natsumi laying on the bed in front of her. The sedative she was hit with shortly after the detectives arrived on scene was very effective, and she was now deeply sleeping. Looking at her gentle sleeping face, it made her previous violent outburst seem like a total fabrication.
いくら知人だからって犯罪に情状酌量の余地を入れるのはいいこととは思えませんね。ましてあなたは負傷したんですから。規律にうるさいミナイさんらしくもない。
ええ、この子が自らの意思で
It
犯罪を
was
しでかしたのは
true, very true.
私もきっと同じで許さなかった。でもそうじゃない可能性も否定できない。自らの意思じゃなく、例えば
Damn, I thought they were really gonna hit us with the chapter break. That would have been slick.
お社様の意思とかね。この子はひなみ沢出身だから説得力はあるでしょ。
はあ？冗談はやめてくださいよ。その頂上の存在がこの子の体を乗っ取ったとでも言うんですか？
まあそっちは私も信じていないけどね。でもこの子の反応は確かに異常だった。まるでそう、薬物の中毒患者に多く見られる錯乱って言えば分かってもらえるかしら。
じゃあまさか。
いい加減な想像よ。まだね。
For
でも
now. Among those highly dependent on drugs, strong withdrawal symptoms can often include sudden deranged behavior and an inclination towards destruction. My favorite inclinations. Thoughts and actions that would not be normally possible are triggered regardless of the subject's will.
とりあえず花田くん、大至急採取した彼女の血液と携帯していた薬剤の成分を調べて。こういった分析は岐阜県警の松岡くんが一番頼りになるから、
Matsuoka.
そっちに協力を要請してくれる？
Classic
了解
Matsuoka.
しました。
あと藤田くんはこの子に電話をしてあげて。
Maybe her parents aren't dead. It made sense, because if her parents are dead, it's not really a happy ending.
おそらくここの病院の事務に聞けば番号を教えてもらえると思うから。でも内容は。
ええ、分かっていますよ。ミナイさんの一件は伏せてうまく伝えておきます。ただ
何？
いえ、別に大したことじゃないです。それじゃ。
Bye-bye. After saying that, Fujita and Hanada gave a bow and then left the room. The only ones left in the room were Tomoe and Natsumi, who was still sleeping. Suddenly feeling the wind getting stronger as dusk was drawing near, Tomoe went over and closed the window. Since this room was on the 8th floor, the window had bars behind it to prevent anyone from falling out. But just in case, Tomoe fully tightened the lock to keep it from moving.
あの時あの病室
True,
に
I
も
was
柵が
actually
あった
thinking of
な
that. I just didn't say anything. If the nurse Yoko Hiranuma couldn't think of a good way to kill Kohei Sawamura, that incident may have been avoided altogether. And if that had been the case, then the subsequent traffic accidents involving Adisa Ozaki and the mysterious death of Hiranuma wouldn't have occurred either.
考えても意味がないか
Police and doctors wouldn't even be necessary if everyone could just start over with what ifs. Helping to relieve the stress and the pain after an unfortunate incident occurs, that was Tomoe's role as a police officer. She's awake, but we're gonna have to save it for next time because it's pretty late. Thanks for watching. Very intense episode. Really enjoyed that. Actually, the blueprints for the Satoko struggle in Sotsu, or was it Go? I forgot which one it was. I think it was in Sotsu. But yeah, anyways, cool stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time as they talk it out. Hey, it was a little awkward. I almost killed you, but we good now, right?